Oh, baby. Dinga and DeRosa, a House Enterprise, House of College Hoops podcast. Michael, it has been a wild, wild week in college basketball. The net rankings came out. About 11 out of the top 10 teams got beat this weekend. A whole bunch of fun things. Georgetown lost in a very questionable manner. We'll get to all of it. Michael, how are you doing on this fine Monday?
You know, this is going to be, I shouldn't bring this up, but I'm going to anyway. You know how like Fortnite went back to like OG maps and stuff? My buddies and I, you didn't, but like, just take my word for it.
Yeah. I remember it.
Yeah. My buddies and I decided to play Fortnite. And the fact that we got a win on the old one, then we ended it there. Then we played the new shit yesterday. I don't know why. We just were like, I'm not watching this fucking Sunday night football game. Like, I ain't got nothing better to do. When in Rome, go to a Sparrow. You know what they say? When in Indy, play Fortnite. That's kind of how it works.
Sure.
And we got 3 straight wins. And I'm terrible. Everyone else did all the work. I am terrible. But then again, that's 4 wins. That's as many as my Commanders have. So I'm kind of living the high life. Like, come on, pretty good. So can't be doing better than that.
Hey, there are worse things than winning. That is one thing that Georgetown doesn't really know how to do. They lost this weekend on a buzzer beater from TCU. Emmanuel Miller stepped out of bounds. It was ruled that they couldn't review that part of the play. Michael, any takes here? I want to say that how is this not reviewable? How can you not review a game-winning play where a player very obviously steps out of bounds?
We need a common sense rule at some point. Like if you are going to the monitor and you're spending 18 minutes there just to see, all right, so did the person step out at 14.8 or 14.6? Okay. If we're going to spend 9,000 years there for that, you should be able to say, all right, this dude stepped out of bounds. Game over. They lose. It should be that simple. We need a common sense review rule. But that's never going to happen because it's the NCAA. This is fucking bullshit. How is that not reviewable? How is like anything that involves point scoring? That should be the stuff we need to review. That's all it comes down to. So
I assume that it's not a rule just because it hasn't been talked about before. Like I can't imagine this coming up and saying, hey, if somebody hits a last second shot and he steps out of bounds beforehand, can we review that? And the board says no. That conversation had to have not taken place yet. I assume it will be in the future.
You'd be surprised. It's the NCAA board. The refs might like protest. They're like, how are we supposed to tell if they stepped out of bounds? What's the out of bounds line? We don't know. Well, you can't do that. It's too much pressure for us.
Fair enough. So that was a pretty killing loss. I will give credit to Ed Cooley in the post game, handled it just how he should. He was back to Cooley form after kind of losing his cool in one of the first couple games, yelling at reporters a little bit. So glad to see Ed is back to his old shape.
Yeah, the team looked good. There's clearly progress being made for Georgetown, and for TCU, that's their first real test. And Georgetown to a varying degree, but like they played nobody during that. Teams who play their first real test, as you saw the next day, Saturday, you saw on Sunday. Teams in their first test, if it's this late in the season, they don't look very good.
No. Creighton beat Nebraska by an infinite amount of points. Nebraska kind of forgot how to defend, or if they wanted to defend the 3-point line at all. It was almost like every ball screen, the help defender on the weak side would just completely leave. And then the Creighton guard would just kick it to the opposite corner, and it would be an open 3 every single play. It was truly unbelievable.
The amount of threes I saw, like just rotating Creighton players have in the same corner. It was like Ashworth hit one, then Shireman hits one, then Alexander gets one. It's like, oh my God. Right. I remember I think they showed a stat, and when I was watching, I didn't watch the full game because it was over by halftime. As soon as you saw the tech from Tominaga, it's like, all right, this game's over. But it was like Creighton or Nebraska gave up I think they their opponents were shooting like the 10th most threes in the country or something like that leading into that game. And it's like, all right, the teams they played, they could have recovered like a step faster. They would have been fine or something like that. Against Creighton, you're leaving Creighton open?
Yeah, can't do it.
Goodbye.
Right. We won't hit on Creighton too much more, or if at all, in this podcast. So I do want to give a shout out to Baylor Shireman, who got his 40th, a triple-double of his career, which is pretty great. He leads the Big East now in scoring at 19.2 points per game. A lot of people like at Creighton practices this fall said that Shireman was their most improved player. Like John Fanta went to a Creighton practice and said that. And, initially I was like, okay, I mean, whatever, right? I don't know. I don't buy it, but truly it's been miraculous and he's been really good. How about this, Michael? There's been 2 players in the last 30 years with 1,000 rebounds and 275 3-pointers. Both of them.
That is one of the greasier stats I've ever heard. If
Yes.
they ever drop a number like 275, it's like, all right, I like this stat. All right, he's the only guy to hit 274 threes, 382 layups. It's like, oh, okay, that's my kind of stat. Now we're talking.
Fair, but 30 years, okay? 1,000 rebounds, 275 threes, 2 players, Baylor Shireman and Doug McDermott. Both Creighton guys. Kind of fun.
Buckets.
Yeah.
He was so good.
All right. The net rankings came out, Michael, for the first time today. How much stock do you put into them, if any, at this point on December 4th, this early? 0.
Absolutely 0. There are people on my Twitter feed, believe it or not, that are like reacting to these things like they mean anything. It kind of blows my mind. Like the tweet I sent out was like, basically sum it up. The net just doesn't have enough information right now. Like we need quite a while. There's a reason like a Ken Palm still uses preseason projections to like balance it out. And like the NCAA, like one of the stats guys for the NCAA liked the tweet. It's like,
Warlock's over here liking your tweets.
It was Warlock. He liked the tweet. Yeah. So it's like, all right. Yeah. It means you don't need to pay attention to the net. Like it's that simple. Like that's really it. Like, I think Princeton was 8. No disrespect to Princeton. They're a good team. They're not the 8th best team in the country.
No.
McNeese was in the top 50. They're not top 50.
Right. Yeah. South Carolina, I think, is pretty high. So I don't know if Andy Katz made his top 25 out of the net rankings or what. But
Clemson is going to beat the doors off of them. Oh my goodness, that is a hammer spot. That's a Thor's hammer coming in. Bang! Clemson to the moon. Clemson by 1,000.
Okay, I got one more question for you off the bat here. These 5 teams lost this weekend to varying degrees. Duke gets beat by Georgia Tech. Purdue bested by Northwestern. Villanova gets beat by Drexel. Kentucky and Marquette both lose as well. Who of those 5 teams are you most worried about?
Nova. 100%.
In comparison to their preseason expectations.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Duke, I feel like is going to get back to form. Like they lost to Arkansas. That's fine. You lose to Georgia Tech. Tech actually looks pretty good. Like I think we were right about, even though we saw them lose a couple games early, they kind of settled in. They also beat Mississippi State during the week. Like they look fine. And Stoudemire's a really good coach. We know that. The way Neptune not only lost, but like handled it, and the way the team looked when I was watching the game, like just didn't look right. They didn't know what they were doing. Late game, they have a possession. They wait to call the timeout till there's 6 seconds left. And that was like the one time like the guy driving actually maybe had a lane. The way like the rotation there doesn't work. Nova's not hitting shots, but they're not getting open shots. They're defending guards in the same, like they got the same switch generated 3 times and the guard scored 9 points off of that same switch. It's like that really concerns me. Like stuff like that really concerns me. And Nova just seemingly had no direction. So I really think they're like way behind where I thought they'd be. Like the talent level should really carry them more than it has this season. They lost, like if they just lost to Penn, fine. Hands up.
Yeah.
Perkins
Slackert and Spinoso are talented enough where you can exonerate that loss. But
or if you just lost to St. Joe's. You had 2 guards there, same thing. Awesome guards. But losing all 3 of the games, that's bad.
Yeah, pretty inexcusable. Trilly Donovan tweeted out, like, imagine getting 6th in a conference in a tournament called the Big Five. Very funny. I will say Purdue also is kind of right there for me. They caused 3 turnovers against Northwestern in the whole game, a game that went to overtime. Purdue had a stretch of 3 minutes where they had 4 turnovers. So they had more turnovers in 3 minutes than Northwestern had in 45. The guards aren't dynamic enough on defense, and the shot making is still a little up in the air. Like you can't win with one player. Been saying it for years, Matt Painter. You can't do it. Braden Smith and Lawyer just aren't to the level they need to be for this team to compete for a national championship to me.
Well, Northwestern did kind of win that game with one player.
Kinda, but the other guys weren't liabilities.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were in foul trouble the entire game, Northwestern. 2 people fouled out. Multiple people had 4 fouls. Bugui had 4 fouls. He had to sit out for a little bit. And they still were competitive out there. Purdue, if Edey ever got in foul trouble, I am immediately going to the live spread and seeing what it is, and I don't care. I'm going to bet for the other team.
I like Drake Offenrun. He could be all right. But yeah, you're right. There is definitely Purdue of the teams in the top 5 to 7. Purdue's definitely the most flawed. They have the most flaws. I agree with you there. 100%.
Okay. Okay. One other thing I want to hit on here, revolving rankings. We both released our top 25 rankings. I have yours. You have mine. Okay. So let's play a fun game, critiquing each other's top 25s.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to start with you on the one that actually didn't end up making your final list, but you said that Arkansas was right there in consideration for your top 25, probably 26 or 27. What have you seen from Arkansas that tells you this team is one of the top 27 teams in the country?
They beat Duke. That's really it.
But that, I mean, Duke also lost to 2 other teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, they have like Trayvon Brazile, I think, is a legit star. Like, I think he's really good. I think he's going to make a lot of money playing basketball. Like, I really like his game. After that, it's like there's so many guys that actually have talent, but are just like kind of question marks to me. Like Tremont Mark, actually, I think is really good too. And they didn't have him in that game. I think he is a star. Like those 2, that's as good a 1-2 punch as many teams will have. Just after that, I don't trust a Khalif Battle. I don't trust an Ellis. I don't trust Day Davis. I don't trust a Mekhi Mitchell inside. Jeremiah Davenport. You could go down the list. I don't trust any of the guys. But that 1-2 punch, like I think Trayvon Brazile could be an NBA player next year. If he continues like on this track, I think I think he gets drafted. And Tremont Mark, I think was one of the most underrated players on that Houston team. And him going to Arkansas and averaging 18.5 a game, I think proves how good he is. So
yeah,
the 1-2 punch there. But yeah, you are right. I do not trust this team. I'm very glad I sent you my rankings and you're like, why the fuck do you have Arkansas there? I'm like, yeah, you're right. I don't like this team. I was lower on them in the offseason. And like, I think I took a victory lap at one point for being lower on Arkansas. So that was such a noob move by me.
They're 45th on Ken Palm, losses to Greensboro, Memphis, and North Carolina. Yeah. Duke is their only win of note. It took 2 overtimes to beat Stanford, a team that honestly might get last in the Pac-12. RIP to Cal, though. Cal will probably get last.
They look good in their last 2 games, man. They whooped Santa Clara, who's not bad. Like they beat Oregon. Santa Clara beat Oregon, and they almost beat San Diego State. They could be good. Saying, might be right. We might have been right the whole time. Just the games didn't work out in our favor.
Well, to be fair, you can throw out the games without Tyson. Fully, but we'll see about them long term.
Lost like a D3 team, though.
Fair. Okay, what do you got for me?
Yeah, this was egregious. You had Utah at 14. 14. How? What have they done to like justify anywhere near that?
Okay, so we're gonna start. I was ready for this. I assumed you were going here.
Prepared. I didn't prepare. You prepared. So this is gonna be great for me.
On Evan Maya, which is honestly maybe my favorite analytics site in college basketball. Their starting 5 is the 3rd most productive, most efficient lineup in college basketball. Now they are missing both of their losses and almost the whole season for one of the guys. They have missed 3 rotation players. Will Exacte has been gone the entire season. Keba Keita has missed both of their losses. Without him, with him they are undefeated. And then they're still waiting on the waiver from Davion Smith. Assuming those 3 guys are healthy, okay.
They're not getting a waiver. You can just throw that out. I'm
not sure about that. I don't know about that.
Okay.
What makes you so sure?
They haven't given up waivers, and
because this is going to be Craig Smith's like if he gets the waiver, they're not going to redshirt him because this could be Craig Smith's like last year if it doesn't work out. And so I think that if it comes through, and I think it has over 50% chance, in my opinion, of coming through. He will play. And he adds another element. Will Exacte is also probably their most athletic wing. Cole Madsen's been really good, but Exacte he's built like a linebacker. He adds a force defensively, and then Keba Keita down low. Without him, Lawson Lovering and Brandon Carlson were the only bigs. So Ben Carlson was playing the 4, and at one point he played the 5. He's 6'7" and a pretty scrawny 6'7". When everyone's healthy, I still think this team is awesome. I really do.
They could be good. What have they done this season?
They were competitive with Houston. It was a 1-possession game with 4 minutes left. Houston's really good. The number 1 team on KenPom.
They got wired by St. John's.
Third game in 3 days with 6 players. All 3 guys were out. What do you want from them? No one's going to do well with 6 players for three games in 3 days.
I'll be watching that BYU game, but the fact that this team has done nothing but lose their 2 biggest games of the season, and you have them 14th, you have them higher now than you did at the beginning of the season, despite them losing 2 big games. They're only 2 good games.
They beat your wonderkind, Austin or Aiden Mahaney.
St. Mary's is so fucking bad. They're terrible. But that's another conversation for another day. We'll address some of our bad takes in a future episode. That was one of mine.
Deleting preseason expectations on Bartorvik. Utah's 20th in the nation, so I still have it higher than that. But they've been good. Like the lower teams they've played, they have trounced, and the big teams they've been
great. They beat Eastern Washington and UC Riverside by a combined 80 points.
You talking about the Riverside?
Wired by St. John's.
You talking about the Riverside that almost beat UCLA the other day? Dylan Andrews had to make almost a buzzer beater beat Riverside.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough.
Ugh. And I know you love the Bruins.
Love's a strong word.
Are they still in your top 25?
UCLA, you have my top 25 in front of you. No, they're not.
Not right now. I can pull it up, but I don't have it in front of me.
They're not.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one more bone to pick with you.
All right. Well, how about that? You go first. My friend T. Goody wants to know why you don't have Villanova in your top 25.
T. Goody. Thanks for popping in, guy. Villanova, unfortunately, is probably the 4th best team in their city, and I think there's a rule about only ranking 3 teams from one city. So by rule, I can't rank Villanova even if I want.
Ooh, I like that rule. We should I like that rule. Yeah. We can only I like it. Yeah. Do we for some of the Midwestern states? Do we just go 3 teams per state? You can't rank if we're ranking Creighton and Nebraska, we can't rank Omaha or
correct. Indiana, Butler, Indiana, Purdue, Indiana State. You're out of luck. Sorry.
Okay. So, okay. I like this rule. I think we should. Okay. I like it. Yeah. So I guess the real question then would be, why didn't St. Joe's make your ranking?
Hey, if they held on against Kentucky, I'd be considering it. Sure. Sure. Okay, my last bone to pick with you. BYU is in your top 10. Yeah. A little rich for my blood. I know they have beat everyone under the sun by 1,000,000 points and have the best EFG percentage in the country. I get it. But also, you cannot tell me you truly believe that BYU is one of the 10 best teams in the country.
Honestly, right now, I tend to think I do. They look so...
Wow.
They really... In the 2 games I watched them play, they really impressed me. Their offense is so dynamic. I don't think they miss. And even when they got down in the NC State game, Casey Morcell just kind of went ham in the beginning. They were down 10 in early in the first half. And I'm watching this game and I'm it's not a matter of will BYU win, it's how much will they win by. They looked really good in that game. Their offense is dynamic. They spread the floor incredibly well. They have shooters at every position. They're a smart team. They were able to do all that without their 2 big men. Ali Khalifa didn't expect to play much that game. He played 30 minutes and was passing like he was freaking Wes Unseld.
Yeah.
They're good. They're really good. And of the teams below them that I have, at least, UNC, Creighton, Colorado State, not even Ohio State. I feel like I could if I was going to bump them down, I could bump them down to 13, but they really impressed me. And the teams below them have all lost games and had bad games. BYU hasn't had a bad game yet. They look really good. And KenPom has them 8th. I think the net had them 2nd or something like that. They're really good. And I am fully ready to say I was wrong about this team. Very wrong about this team at that.
Okay. Yeah, I think you had them 13th in the Big 12. I
had them
14th.
1 or 2 spots above you.
Right. I had them last.
You had them last. I think I had them 12th. No, I had them 12th because I had West Virginia and who's that other awful? UCF below them.
UCF, yeah.
They're not going to finish 12th in that conference. Give your head a shake, DeRosa.
They do have their biggest test on Saturday, the 9th against Utah. We'll see. Hey, if Utah wins that game, do you rank the Utes?
Do I rank them? Yes. Do I rank them 15? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like at least I'm going to watch that game because I'm really interested in seeing how it goes. Honestly, that's probably like a sleeper for most interesting game because both teams they're both in Utah, so they're both white guys and they're going to shoot a ton of threes. So I just want to see how they try to defend each other and how. Like, I feel like Carlson's a mismatch on one end. On the other end, I feel like a Jackson Robinson is going to cause real problems for Utah.
Yeah, agreed. Quick shout out to the state of Utah. Utah's really good. BYU's good. Utah State is doing fine under Sprinkle in year 1.
Yeah.
That state, this has got to be maybe the best year of basketball for Utah in my lifetime.
Could be, yeah. I don't know how good the Jazz are. I don't really follow the NBA. Yeah. They might be winning the in-season tournament for all I know.
Hey, real quick, the in-season tournament thing.
I have no idea how it works.
I don't either. That was good. Does anyone know? I just kind of saying, hey, let's play this thing and then we'll just continue on with our lives. Does it impact anything?
I don't know. I have no idea. Is there a title? Do they is confetti gonna fly when a team wins? And should I be upset that my Wizards just can't win a game? But maybe they could make a push in the in-season tournament, but then they're already eliminated from that apparently. I don't know how it works. I have no idea what's going on.
If you win the in-season tournament, you should be granted a playoff spot.
Yeah, but I feel like the in-season tournament's just to get fans to watch, and I think the winning team just wins money.
Okay. Yeah, nothing like getting fans to watch with a tournament that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I also love watching those.
Oh, by God, yeah. I love, just... If I'm watching a sport, I want as little, emotion and stakes as possible. I don't want, someone... I want someone out there, so many people will say, man, this, my life, almost depended on this game. This was everything to me. I want someone going out there and saying, you know what, man? I didn't really give a shit what happened out here.
Care.
I just kind of was bombing it from half court and just hoping it went in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking NBA sucks.
Okay, we were talking about it the other day as well, but you have to narrow it down to one other critique for my rankings.
Jesus, I only get one. All right, let me. So, the one that I actually want to talk the most about. So I'm going to go with this one rather than definitely more things I could and probably should critique. What has Texas done to deserve to be ranked? I really don't get it. I think they're going to be much better when Dessou comes back. But he hasn't played a game this season. Their second leading scorer is your favorite player, Caden Shedrick.
I hate Caden Shedrick.
I have no idea what Texas has done to deserve to be ranked.
Well,
and I know you didn't prepare for this one, so I know I got you now.
So the main thing I think is that they're 6-1 in a team that I had in the top 17. I think I had them 17th in the preseason. So they're 6-1, and what I considered to be a top 17 team, with their only loss being at UConn, a team that, spoiler alert, I have number 1 in the country. So, I mean, what is there? There's no bad spots against them. I know they almost lost against Louisville, and
their best win is Louisville.
Yeah. Hey, on a neutral.
Yeah.
No, I know, and we'll learn a lot more on the 6th this Wednesday against Marquette. But I mean, in my opinion, they've been okay. Asmus has been all right. His O rating has been fine, and he's adjusted to higher competition. Okay, well, I guess we don't really know yet, but he looked fine against UConn.
Played anyone?
I don't know.
Their best win is either that or Wyoming. They got dog walked by UConn, and the game ended 10. That was really a 20-point game, 15-point game. That wasn't.
Well, I mean, yes and no, right? UConn got up really early in that game and then just kind of holstered the lead in the entire
It was
way.
over. There was never a point where you were watching that game and like, man, you know what? I think Texas is going to make a run here. I think when Dessou comes back, I think he honestly makes this team a lot better. I think the way they'd be able to play with Dessou, you're able to switch a lot of actions, and there's more spacing offensively and all that sort of stuff. And like you can kind of like zig and zag with Dessou and Shedrick. I think there's like it's kind of a matchup problem for another team, but he hasn't played, and they haven't done anything. I don't know how they're ranked 12. I don't know how they're ranked by really honestly anyone. If that shot, A. Smith shot, that one shot against Louisville, if that doesn't fall, where's Texas right now? 30s?
I mean, yeah, I guess. Effective field goal percentage wise, they're top 25 in defense. They're a fine defensive team. Once you get the rebounding better with Dessou back, I still think the talent's there. I really do.
They're talented, but I don't know if it fits together well. And we haven't seen them tested. Aside from when they got dog walked by UConn in a game that was not competitive, they barely beat Louisville in a game where they were 20-point favorites. I really don't. I haven't seen anything with this team to make me think they're any good.
It's fair. If anyone hasn't seen my rankings, I have them 18th, so it's not like I have them as a top 10 team. They were right in that, and we were talking about this too, where teams, really for me, let me look, 13 through probably somewhere around 35 are very, very similar to me. Like they're all within 3 points of each other so far, in my opinion. So Texas is right in that group. They happen to be 18. If they end up being 28th next week, I mean, sure, you could. If they lose by 15 to Marquette, then we can readjust.
Yeah, I think Marquette beats them pretty bad. I'll go on record saying that. I think Marquette spaces them. I think Marquette dices them. And I think Marquette will show that this team is still flawed. And yeah, I like Marquette in that spot quite a bit.
Okay. UConn loses the other day to Kansas at Fog Allen. The Huskies dropped to 7-1. But, Michael, are you more impressed with Kansas in that game or UConn in that one? Because UConn falls down early, big time early, down double digits in the first, I want to say 6 or 7 minutes in that one. They fight all the way back, and they end up taking the lead before blowing it kind of in the last couple minutes. I came away from that game more confident in UConn being a top 2 or 3 team in the country than I am Kansas.
Can my answer just be I'm most impressed with Tristan Newton?
Sure.
He was incredible in that game. I didn't expect him to be one of the best 3 guards in the Big East. I think that's fairly undebatable, honestly, at this point. I'd go Alexander and Kolek above him. Maybe throw a Cam Jones in there. Maybe.
I think I'd have him too, behind Kolek.
Yeah. Like he's the truth, man. He looks incredible. I didn't expect him to be like as good as he was. Last year, there was like when they went on their losing skid, he was more or less like the worst player on the floor in most of those games. Like they didn't have a point guard. He was just bad. He was the reason they weren't competitive in a lot of those games. He really picked it up and really settled in towards the end of the season, and they were able to go on the run and be the team of destiny in the tournament. He is averaging 17, 8, 6, and 2 steals.
Yeah.
He is incredible. Absolutely incredible. He is better than advertised, and they're getting Castle back. I think Castle adds another element to this backcourt. And Cam Spencer clearly wasn't 100% in that game.
Yeah.
But really it was Newton. I think Newton carries the load for this team. At the same time, I think if he goes down, I think that is a GG to this team. I think that really tanks this team. I think he means so much to how this team operates, and I don't know if they really can replace him.
Yeah, it was impressive to me that he was able to shoulder the load so much on a day where Cam Spencer did nothing. He went, I want to say 2 for like, I don't know, 10.
He was ice cold.
Yeah, bad. Caravan didn't do much. Donovan Clingan didn't. 8 points for Clingan. 10 points for Clingan.
And Poi, National Player of the Year, 100-1.
Yeah, good luck. So it was really impressive for UConn to be that close with some of their stars being, held in check for the most part. Hunter Dickinson, by the way, another 15 points, 7 rebound day, 9 rebound day. Oh, I'm all over the place. But Dickinson has been begrudgingly really, really good for Kansas. They would not have near the record they do right now if it were not for him.
Is Brandon Carlson still better than him?
I think it's still, dude, it's closer than everyone wants to make it out to be. It is. It really is. Ask me again in January.
I'll probably ask you like every single episode going if we ever talk about Hunter Dickinson. So get used to it.
Okay. Michael, I got in a little back and forth on Twitter regarding Gonzaga the other day.
Yeah,
because I said Gonzaga was a little bit overrated, and it was unfortunately retweeted by Seth Davis, and so then every Gonzaga fan saw it, and they all decided to get after me for it. Here's my thing with Gonzaga.
Was that Gonzaga or Miami when you got retweeted?
Both. I said they were both overrated.
Yeah.
Miami fans, I got a couple replies that were like, yeah. I was like, well, yeah. But Gonzaga did not believe that. Gonzaga is 9th in KenPom right now, but here's my major gripe with them. They lose to Purdue by 10. No shame in that. Purdue's really good. They beat UCLA in a really strange game with about 60 fouls, and Adembona only played something like 18 minutes. He's going to be an All-American, right? Like it's just, and it was a weird game, so I didn't put much value on that. They beat USC, was a lot of things to figure out to me. Like Isaiah Collier, his game just isn't as developed as it needs to be a star on a top 20 team. It's just not. I'm not saying he's not going to get there. But he's just not there right now. So Gonzaga hasn't done enough to warrant me to be uber impressed, and they have absolutely no depth. They have 6.5 competent players. The unfortunate thing, I guess for me, is that they have one more test kind of the rest of the year. So we don't really know, right? They play Kentucky in February, but Connecticut on December 15th, and then Kentucky, and that's it. With St. Mary's being so bad. So where do you land with Gonzaga, and where do you land long term?
They got San Diego State too, December 29th. That's another spot I'm looking at.
5th best team in the Mountain West, maybe 4th best.
Maybe, honestly. Yeah, they're very inconsistent. But yeah, I'm not on Gonzaga very heavily either. I really agreed with you on that take. They don't have any real depth. You have Braden Huff coming off the bench, and they need him to be like incredibly efficient every game he plays. He's been that so far, but he's coming off the bench playing like 10 minutes a game, say, and they need him to score 11 points. And he's done that so far. I don't know if he's going to do that every game of the season, but they're not deep at all. Like, they don't have a backup guard behind Nembhard.
Nope, they do not. If they want to keep playing Nembhard 40 minutes a game, like they have been, like, okay, but good luck with the legs down in early March.
Yeah, I think that's going to burn you at some point. And Hickman, I think, is really good. Stromer's solid. Watson had an incredible game against UCLA that he hasn't. I don't really expect him to replicate at any point in the rest of his college career.
14 of 15, by the way. Everyone that didn't watch the game for Watson.
Incredible.
3 of 3 from deep. He made 3 threes. That has never happened for Anton Watson in his life.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen again, but he was incredible in that game. And Graham Ike looked good. Like that's a really good starting 5. But they don't have a bench. They don't have, I really think, and like they're not the most long group. They're not the most athletic group. They're good in the half court, and they know like enough of how to just win games. But I think that savviness at some point, like someone's just going to come and out, talent them out, physical them out, whatever them. And they're not going to be able to punch back. If you can sustain against Gonzaga, if you're a really good team and you can sustain against Gonzaga for 28 minutes, like you're down 4 at the U12 timeout of the second half. I think you're going to beat them at that point. Like, I think it's just going to be hard for them to complete a game with having all these guys playing as much as they do, as hard as they have to win games. I don't trust the depth. I think it's going to burn them late in the season. And they're a team I expect to be fading come March.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Gonzaga also, just kind of an interesting fact, only 33% of their field goals are 3-pointers. Which is one of the lower Gonzaga marks in in recent memory. They are in that stat. They are 281st in the country, which usually Gonzaga is top 50s. They're changing the way they play a little bit to the roster that they have, with Nembhard not being like a knockdown shooter and a lot of the offense running through Watson and Ike. So kudos to Mark Few. Like, he's adapting to the roster really well, but I still just don't. They're one guy getting banged up away from this team being just average.
Like, they shot 12 of 22 from 3 against USC. I don't see that happening in most games. Like, Huff went 2 or 3 off the bench. Greg went 2 or 3 off the bench. Stromer was 4 of 9. Nembhard hit us 1. Hickman 2 of 4. I don't think they're that good a shooting team, honestly. Like, I just don't.
Right. Me neither. One other team I wanted to bring up for discussion here is Tennessee, who's 13th 11th in KenPom. 4-3, all 3 losses, pretty darn good. Okay, you lose the Maui games, and then you also lose to North Carolina. They saw Hunter Dickinson, Zach Edey, and Armando Bacot in back-to-back games. It's really hard, right? It's very, very hard. And so I got some flack on Twitter for ranking Tennessee. They're like, whoa, they're 4-3, blah, blah, blah. Well, I have all 3 of the teams they lost to higher than them. And so I don't think it is crazy to rank Tennessee. And I actually had them still probably 15th or something like that, because I think they're a really good team. What does Tennessee have to do, in your opinion, to kind of ensure or bring them back to relevance on a national scale to you? They have Illinois coming up on the 9th. They have George Mason, Georgia Southern. Other than that, their other notable game after Illinois is not until January 20th against Alabama. If they go undefeated in their next 10 games, going into that Alabama game, are they top 5 to you? Are they back?
If we're talking top 5, I think they'd need a couple other teams to lose. Like, you need a couple other teams that are already top 5 to look bad. Like, I feel like it'd be hard to see them jumping in Arizona, jumping a UConn, jumping a Marquette, jumping a Kansas, jumping a Purdue.
Sure.
Just by beating teams you're supposed to beat.
Right.
But at the same time, I had you actually had Tennessee at 22. I had them at 19. I just went back and checked.
Good.
I think they're good. And they're really, Dalton Connect changes this team. Without him, they're the same old Tennessee we've seen the last few years. They're good defensively. They're all right offensively, but then they go on this 8-minute drought, and it's like, all right, GG. Right. Tennessee will like either win that game 44-42 or they lose 75-44.
Yeah.
But they're good. Dalton Connect is a legit offensive star. He has been as good as advertised and then some. That kid is so fucking good. He's so much fun to watch. But like, other than that, you got everybody else doing their part. Jordan Gainey off the bench really doing his part side. Jordan James, Adu inside. I actually really like Tobey Walk. I really hope he gets going. I think he's much better than he's shown in his college career. But Zakai Ziegler, Jemai Mashak, they have guys that know their roles, and they have a legit star in Dalton Connect. They play defense. I think they're fairly well coached. They're solid. They're too solid to not be a top 25 team, not be a top 5 seed.
Yeah, Connect is the 7th in Player of the Year at KenPom, behind Tristan Newton, PJ Hall of Clemson, Kyle Filipowski, Jaden Ledee of San Diego State, believe it or not, and then Dickinson and Edey. So he's right there among the very best of the best in college basketball. Tyler Thomas, okay, I'm going to bring up one other name for you. Tyler Thomas, a guard at Hofstra, leads the nation in points per game. Have you watched any of Hofstra this year?
So I remember I saw some highlights. Like, he drops, I think they played day 1. They played early day 1. I don't remember who they played, but I remember he had like 36 or something like that. So I watched the highlights from that game. That is it. So
Hofstra's 5-2. They lost to Princeton. It was a close game. Then they lost to George Washington, the Revolutionaries now. In 5 wins against lesser competition. They beat Wright State, I guess, and then they're okay to me. But for everyone out there that hasn't watched Tyler Thomas, this is must-see TV, just because Speedy Claxton is the coach over there, and they just run so much straight pick-and-roll sets where it's just, hey, Tyler, go get a basket in space. Like, we're going to set one screen for you, and you're just going to go create a shot. Like, it's honestly very simple offense, but it's effective because their guard is really, really good. I would encourage everyone out there to watch Hofstra. He's been kind of almost appointment television for me. I've watched more Hofstra games than I had anticipated in the whole year in the first couple weeks of the season.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna look at their schedule, see if they got like a huge game coming up. But yeah, he's shooting 45% from three. Oh wow, they play at Duke 12-12.
I wouldn't be surprised if they held that to single digits. Really wouldn't.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely see some of that game. It'll be main ESPN's or ESPN2, so why not?
Yeah. All right. That's all I have on the rundown, Michael. Is there anyone else or anything else you want to hit on before we head out?
Let's go back to your rankings. I want to see if I can yell at you about something else, and you'll like get mad at me for doing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, you have New Mexico 20, Nevada 19. What does the Mountain West like prove to you? Why is it the Mountain Best? Like, what are those teams like? What is the reason they shocked the world to you?
New Mexico, one, I think people just discount them because of the St. Mary's game, which they didn't have Jalen House, and I think Jalen House is their best player. And so you can kind of throw that one out to me. They're 39th in KenPom, but they're 7-1, a really dynamic offense when both guards are out there for them. They have wins over Louisiana Tech, Toledo, I guess. So nothing like crazy exciting, but they have dominated all of those games. Every game except for one, I believe they have won by 8 or more points. We'll learn a lot more about them in the coming weeks. They do play Colorado State early January, but I just really like that. Like, I think they're a lot better than metrics can point out because the first few games of the season, their best player wasn't there. And so I think if he was and House played every game, they'd be certainly top 30 in KenPom. So that's New Mexico. And then Nevada, who's undefeated. They just haven't done anything wrong. Like, I know they haven't played anyone either, but same thing there. Jared Lucas and Keenan Blackshear, a great guard combination. Like, these explosive guard combinations is kind of what I look for in the mid-major teams, and both of those fit that bill.
Okay, interesting. Also, I want to take some. Can you give me credit for being so right on Jaden Epps, or are we gonna like wait on that one?
When Tyson Dagenhart has a pulse again, then we can come back to giving you credit on something.
If Jaden Epps doesn't get hurt in that Merrimack game, you know how you said your stat about how Baylor Shireman's leading the Big East in points per game? If he doesn't get hurt in that Merrimack game, that's Jaden Epps, and that's Jaden Epps by like 15 points.
Yeah, no, you were 100% right about him. He has been fantastic.
I know something. I've been wrong about a lot of things. I think we'll get to those at some point in the future past. Like Maryland, holy shit, they are pitiful. But I get you, Jaden Epps. I watched game. I know some things.
No, yeah, he's been really good. And Georgetown, I don't know. They're
going to get better. They can shoot the shit out of the ball. They can't rebound. They can't really defend a straight line drive. And they turn the ball over a little too much, but they can shoot the shit out of the ball.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's the thing, right? You take away the TCU loss, which because of questionable ending, and then let's say the Holy Cross thing pans the other way and they win, then you're talking about them being 7-1 with only a loss against Rutgers. It's a different narrative. They are 2 possessions away from a very, very different narrative on the season.
Like they're not terrible. They're fine. They're not gonna like make the tournament or anything like that, but like they're kind of fun to watch. Low key, yeah. They're kind of fun.
They're not the worst team in the Big East. I am 100% certain about that. That will forever and always be the love of my life, DePaul basketball.
DePaul, is Stubbs getting fired midseason, do you think? Because I remember on one episode I said if there was the first coach fired like there is in the NFL, if Kenny Payne would be like -400 or 500, Stubbs is coming for that. He is coming for that big time.
If you want my real answer, I don't think there is a world in which he gets fired midseason.
I think there is a world in which it happens, but I don't feel like it realistically happens. Like I don't know. They don't have like an assistant that like you can point to and be like, yeah, they're going to be okay handing the reins over to him for the rest of the season. Versus like with a Kenny Payne, if they give it to Nolan Smith, that wouldn't stun me.
DePaul, on a university level, DePaul hasn't shown me they care enough about basketball to make that move.
Fair.
That's what it is to me.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad because of DePaul, I mean, with all the history, and they can be a really good program. Chicago's a great basketball market. They can get back. They really, really can, but you need the right guy and you need a few years to make it work. But they just haven't shown me they care enough.
Yeah, I need to really see DePaul just decide they want to win, and then maybe we can like start seriously talking about DePaul, but they're so fucking bad. They're terrible.
Worst Power 5 team, Power 6 team to me.
Well, Louisville, the big game's coming up December 9th.
December 9th. That is the big day. Louisville, DePaul, Utah, BYU. I will be at Florida Gulf Coast at Minnesota. So, yeah, all the big games.
I will be on my couch watching Georgetown, Syracuse and losing my fucking mind because I want that one so fucking bad.
Hey, Syracuse, not great. Not a tournament team.
They do not defense. It's Judah Mintz. It's Judah Mintz scoring, and if he scores 50, they're gonna beat you. If he doesn't,
right,
they're not winning. They're so bad.
Chris Bell is terrible. I don't know why Chris Bell shoots the ball so much. That shouldn't be his role. Judah Mintz and JJ Starling just aren't enough firepower to overcome the other three guys. It is what it is.
He's so good. He's so good, but the rest of their team is not good.
Judah Mintz or Jaden Epps? We'll close on that. Who would you rather have on a roster?
You see, I was honestly, like, there's a lot of like tweets you see, like, if you like take one player from your rival's team, like who would it be and why? You see that in like any league. If I am a Georgetown fan, the answer is Judah Mintz, and I think I got the second best backcourt in the Big East. Maybe the best. The only one behind is Kolek and Jones.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
Judah Mintz, I honestly think, is an NBA player. That kid is so fucking good. He's good.
You bring the point guard of one of the worst ACC teams with a point guard of one of the worst.
They would be the worst ACC team. They'd be worse than Louisville without that kid. He is saving them.
No way. They would still be very mediocre. They're not a tournament team.
They'd be mediocre, sure, but they'd also have an excellent backcourt. Like, he doesn't fix a lot of the problems Georgetown has. Like, they'd have the same problems. They would just score more points.
Fair.
Yeah, Jaden Epps is on my team and Judah Mintz isn't, so the answer would be Jaden Epps solely for that.
All right. Well, I think that is it from us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to House Enterprise and House of College Hoops for sponsoring us. Check out both of our top 25s, and I think our House top 25 poll will be coming out here today or tomorrow. So take a look at that. A lot of games coming up this weekend or this coming week. The Jimmy V Classic is on Wednesday? So those games should be fun. Sure. I believe Wednesday, so check those out. But yeah, thank you everyone, and until next time.